Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Mad Magical, this is Worth TV and all that jazz. Let's get right into the news. Last night was the beginning of the LPL. We mentioned it before, we were excited to see these series, the first one especially between Invictus Gaming and Royal Never Give Up. But I'm gonna pause really quick. Anyone who hasn't seen the VODs or wants to see them, I highly recommend you go check them out. I'm gonna put a link up so you guys can see them. But this is your final warning. If you go this far, you know the risk, because spoilers are about to happen. So the first game of the LPL was a little bit puzzling coming in from RNG. Uzi, nowhere to be seen. In fact, he was nowhere to be seen throughout this entire series. Instead, they brought in their second string substitute, Abel. Not even Y4 got to see the first game for the LPL for RNG. And then, not only that, they put Abel onto Vayne, a hypercare, really wanting to see how he could shine as his own light. Try to be a little bit of that Uzi light for the team. As well as they brought in another substitute for MLXG in the jungle, Karsa. This was something I was actually really excited to see. I wanted to see how Karsa would do coming in from the LMS, from Flash. We'll see if he could be that shining star here in the LPL like he was back in the Flash Wolves in the LMS. But this game, not too exciting. In fact, it wasn't too exciting in general. IG and RNG weren't the most exciting teams to watch for this first one, because first blood didn't happen until about 16 minutes and 45 seconds into the game, when Ming was able to get up first blood over on to Abel. So it took a while, and not just that, but Ning was playing Kha'Zix, so I guess that's a little bit of praise over to Karsa playing on this Jarvan, being able to keep it so that this Kha'Zix wasn't able to get the snowball early into the game. That is a nice shining light, but sadly for RNG, they felt very disjointed. It could be a little bit because they had two substitutes coming in from the team, but sadly they kind of fell apart. They had a little bit of a lead. There's IG throwing a little bit towards them, RNG throwing a little bit back to IG, but it all boiled down to one bad Realm Orb coming in from RNG, where they thought they had the upper hand. They were going for this Baron, going right underneath IG, but it was right onto a control board, so it was spotted out, easily collapsed upon by Invictus. We're able to get a nice pick on to Ming. They transitioned that into the Baron itself. Then right after that, they were able to knock down all the inhibitor towers that they needed to end the game, simply based off of one Realm Orb. So sadly for that, that was game one going to Invictus. Game two was also puzzling, but this time for Invictus Gaming. While RNG, they brought back in MLXG, subbing out Karsa, so it's kind of sad to see that happen. But they brought in Y4 to replace Abel, so it felt like they were having more of the team that they were synergizing with throughout the Demacia. But then Invictus Gaming, like I was mentioning, a little bit puzzling, because they decided to draft Ivern for Ning. Well, Ning has been primarily playing a lot of these carry-type junglers. They're like, nah, we're going to put him on something supportive. And it looked like it was going to do great for about the first 6 minutes, when he had a decent gank, didn't really actually get much, and then after that, invade, coming in from MLXG to punish consistent on it to Ning. All this pretty much led to RG rolling over Invictus Gaming, but I will give a huge praise over to Ming. Well, Ming, I've questioned in the past. He likes to get caught out, especially when it's more of that Ardent Sensor type supports. This time around, on the Alistar, whew, he was beautiful. Had that synergy with MLXG. He'd go in, he got a 4-mana Alistar knockup while a flank was happening from MLXG on the Jarvan. So it was bam, bam, bam. One fight after another, pretty much based off of Ming. They even Realm Orbed him in behind underneath an inhibitor tower, and he was just like, I'm cool with not even getting anything. You're just afraid of me, and so we'll win the game based off that. And so game two went to RNG, so that made it 1-1 in the series. So game three, it looked like it was going to be an RNG stop right out of the gates again. First blood onto Duke made it seem that there's nothing that IG could do to stop the overwhelming tidal wave that was RNG with MLXG and Y4 onto the roster. But then some outplays coming in from Rookie, especially onto Xiao, really got them back into the game, because after that they felt that they were empowered to go for invades. They punished MLXG for not having proper wards around his own jungle, where they were able to get these kills onto Kha'Zix. So it was nice coming in from IG, but the thing was, RNG were always just a couple steps ahead in the macro game, where it was so hard for IG to actually get back in. Sure, they won a couple fights here and there, but the first brick gold went over to RNG. They ended up getting the Baron, and Jackie Love only was able to throw out the True Shot Barrage to try to see if he can stop it. sadly didn't really work out for them. And in the end, that game really came down to RNG got a lead. They held on to it regardless of what IG was able to put up in any form of defense. They closed out the game off of it. Top Sports Gaming and SNG Gaming. These are not names that generally stick out to anybody when you hear about them, especially in the West. Even the Demacia Cup, these teams weren't really that amazing. They didn't shine any sort of lights that made you go, ah, this is the new rising star for the LPL. And that kind of showed through with their series. The series went 2-0 for SNG Gaming. And we're like, oh, 2-0, that's nice. It was one of the messiest series I've seen. And we literally have just started Season 8. I mean, Game 1 should kind of spell out everything with the fact that Top gave over Zoe. Not just gave over Zoe, they literally ignored it for the entirety of the series. They didn't care about banning it. They didn't care if it was picked up late into the draft by SNG Gaming. They're just like, we don't want to play. We want going on to Rise, and that's all it was. And so I think pretty much based off of that alone, this is why SNG Gaming won. They had a mid laner who was willing to play Zoe while their mid laner was not willing to play it. But we also have to look at how the game itself went down. Game 1 especially kind of shows how this was, because the early game was always won by SNG Gaming, where Top Sports was trying valiantly to fight back in weird ways, where they made a weird Baron call and they had to pull off immediately because it was about 21 minutes into the game. They were 4k gold behind SNG Gaming, so they couldn't take the Baron easily. The collapse was coming in, they had to bail, and the Baron was then pretty much gotten by SNG Gaming a couple minutes later. So Top Sports kind of proved that this is the reason why when they were Dan Gaming before, they finished last in the region. And then Game 2 happened in this series, and oh my god, that game alone, my mind was blown. I don't know. It was fine in the early stages of the game where it kind of seemed back and forth. Then, 16 minutes and 50 seconds into the game, we see a dive coming in from Top Sports Gaming where they wanted to get a pick on tonight. They're like, aha, we can get him. Karin, go in, we got this. And it all went to hell from there. This fight almost went on for 2 minutes. Hell, Knight was able to die in the fight at the beginning, then respawn and die again. This is supposed to be a competitive level game with this kind of nonsense happening. I was just baffled while I was watching the fight. I had to watch the fight a couple times. I honestly, re-round, I'm like, no, that did not happen. This was not just one fight, because it started off with a dive. Then all of a sudden you see the rotation coming in. Tion gets himself picked off with a bad blast cone usage where he gets right into the hands of Top Gaming. Then all of a sudden you see Fury and Yun, they're here. Great teleport coming in from Xiaoal. They're winning the fight for something. This is amazing. Then they go for a dive. Knights respawn. They give over double kills over to Kog'Maw. I just don't know what I watched with that entire game, and it was SNG winning at the end of it, but I don't consider that a win by any stretch of the imagination. So now moving on to, hopefully not as trollish of news, the LCK starts today, January 16th, 2018. Really excited to see these games, especially between the first series of games, gonna be KSV Esports and Kingdom Dragon X. If you don't recognize the names, it's okay. Kingdom Dragon X was Longzhu Gaming. They were forced to sell their name, the team, because they also owned SNG Gaming, who we were talking about previously. They could only hold on to one, so they decided to sell off Longzhu. Not sure why you would do that, but anyways, they're going to be playing against KSV Esports, who were Samsung. Samsung didn't want to hold on to a League of Legends roster anymore. Not quite sure why, especially after they had just won Worlds. Maybe that's why they didn't want to hold on to it, but either way, should be a great series. These two teams are touted as being the top three, them and KT. I know no SKT this time, but that's for another video. We'll talk about that all later. But let's move on to the second series of the game between Kongdu Monsters and between MVP. So if we thought the first series was great, second series, not so much. I mean, that's kind of what you expect from a team that got back in from relegation. They got relegated before, made it back with the promotion, now facing off against MVP, who have been struggling a little bit. Though I do love them, especially Max. I think he's an amazing support, but they haven't been doing so hot. So don't expect that series to be quite as entertaining as KSV, unless you kind of like those kind of games, kind of like the SNG Gaming and between top sports, but I guess everyone has their own kind of favorites with games. So with that, that's going to be the end. We covered the LPL, we've got IG versus RNG. RNG pulling out an amazing win, 2-1. Then we had Sunning versus Top, where that was not quite such a great 2-0 for Sunning victory. Man, even thinking about it gives me flashbacks. And then we also have the LCK starting up today, so I will put those VODs as best I can up into the video so you can check them out if you want. But if I see you guys tomorrow, see you then.